All right, Puerto Rico is in technical default, everyone, and that is despite Puerto Rico Governor Alejandro Garcia Padilla speaking to senators today in Washington, all but hat in hand, asking for some relief, some help. Senators a little less than sympathetic to do that, maybe because, well, we don't have the money ourselves. But the bottom line was that $355 million bond payment was due today. Keep in mind that Puerto Rico has a better than $72 billion debt. They did pay that off, but here's the tricky part. They did so by raiding another credit line and skipping out on some other obligation bonds, not the general obligation type, but that's a no-no in basic accounting, and playing those kind of games still means default. Former Governor of Puerto Rico, Luis Fortuno, now joins us, talks about a U.S. bailout being a mistake. Why do you think it would be a mistake, Governor?
Well, first of all, it will set a terrible precedent, and I'm sure it will not fly on either side of the aisle here in Washington. What actually Senator Hatch yesterday said on the Senate floor makes a lot of sense. First of all, he's demanding credible information. And the audited financial statements are way overdue. They have to be issued. Secondly, a credible plan. And thirdly, a number of creditors have indicated that they're willing to sit down and work something out without any need to go into these games. And certainly, I would take that offer, and I would certainly work with those creditors. Do you know for a fact they've offered? Because a
lot of them are afraid that they're going to be paid back pennies on the dollar anyway. Do you think that they would accept partial payment on this?
Well, of course, it depends on the credit, and there are 18 different types of credits.
And most of them are hedge funds, if I understand, right?
Well, there are hedge funds, there are municipal funds, there are individual investors, and very few institutional investors are left by now. But it makes sense for both sides to sit down and talk this out. However, there has to be full transparency, and that's why the audited financial statements ought to be issued as soon as possible, and a credible plan has to be put forth. The bottom line here is that the economy has to grow, and in order for it to grow, the business climate has to improve. That has to deal with, regulation, both at the federal and the state level, that has to be addressed, as well as tax policy that has to be addressed. Well,
you've got 45% living in poverty in your Commonwealth, the country, however you want to define it. And I am curious, Governor, why businesses would ever be attracted to a country that has such a bloated government and such a bloated bureaucracy and does nothing to address it.
Well, that is why, for example, during my tenure, we slashed $2 billion in expenses, half of it in the payroll sector, and actually more has to be done in every area. There are too many government agencies. The merger of agencies has to continue, and then the regulatory process, the permitting process, has to continue to be streamlined instead of making it more and more difficult. Yeah. However, for decades, it has been a very attractive place for mostly manufacturing, the electronics, our pharmaceutical sectors. Some of the incentives are gone, but it's still very attractive.
Governor, thank you for taking the time. We very much appreciate it.